based on society, if you don't look a certain way, that means it's not normal. If you don't have your 2 foot, your 2 hand, and if you're dark enough, or if you're too big and you're too skinny, there's always something wrong with you. But today, we're bringing on again beautiful Maria, who is an intimacy coach, talking about her trials and tribulations. Listen, my name is Donna, and welcome to Sensual Rebirth. Maria, gorgeous, beloved, how are you today?
I am doing well. And as usual, thank you, Donna, for having me in your platform and for the work that you do and for who you are as a woman, as a leader. It's so powerful. I love and I appreciate you so much.
And I receive it. Thank you, beautiful. So before we get into all the juiciness, right? I know I sent you a question, but I switched it again on you. If your love life was to be a movie, what would be the title of your love life right now, Maria?
My love life was to be a movie.
Yes.
Ooh,
Ooh. Oh,
deep.
geez,
What would be the title of my movie?
Mm-hmm. All right, don't think too hard. Make up your own movie title if you need to be.
It'd be Dangerous Adventures.
Oh, geez, okay. I wanna get into that more.
That's what it would be.
Dangerous adventures. How dangerous are we talking?
How dangerous can we get?
that you know what? You're gonna put a pin in there because I am going to see how dangerous it can get after we talk about your separation after 20 years after you found out that you have breast cancer. How was that for you?
Wow. So this is the man that I thought I was gonna spend the rest of my life with. This is somebody I deeply, deeply loved since I was 21 years old when I laid my eyes on him. And then 20 years later, I made the choice to put myself first because the truth is that we both were not given the tools, the wisdom, the practice of how to have a really healthy relationship.
Okay.
And so, we did it however we did it, and it turned abusive and toxic. And what woke me up was the breast cancer and me asking myself, like going inwards and asking myself the questions, why did God leave me here? Why do I have a second chance when so many women perish from breast cancer? Why was I left here? And if I was left here, what am I going to do with my life? Because I can't just waste it away. And that is what triggered the being honest with myself about, like, is everything in my life exactly everything that I want and then some?
So you developed breast cancer when you were married to this man.
Yes.
So after all of that, you put yourself first because you left this marriage after the surgery, or have you had the surgery at this point?
Oh yeah, I had the surgery and I removed my breast in 2014, June of 2014. And exactly 1 year later, in June of 2015, I ended the relationship.
So as a new divorcee with a man for 20 odd years, a woman that has who did a breast surgery and only have one breast, how did you pivot to go back into this world as a divorcee? You've only been with one man for so long and one breast. How did that impact you emotionally and physically?
So the emotional impacts of the relationship were very severe. And so I was depressed. When I left my ex-husband, I was depressed. I felt lost. I had no sense of self, like who I was as a woman, who I was as Maria. I had no clue who Maria was, actually, because she was completely lost in that relationship. And so I had to go on a journey to discover me. And it was very scary because I was the kind of person who was a people pleaser,
Mm-hmm.
very indecisive. So any major decision that I had to make in life, I always needed to ask other people, and I would choose based on what other people thought, because
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of failure. I was afraid to make a mistake, because if I made a mistake, then I'm a failure. I'm stupid. I'm wrong. I'm not good enough. Like I had a huge list of all the things that were wrong with me. And so I had to go on a journey to transform all of that. And I knew, so one thing that shifted a lot for me is that I used to be a mortgage broker for almost 20 years, and I was a
Oh,
very successful mortgage broker. That was the only part of my life where I actually excelled and was myself to an extent.
okay.
And so I did a lot of self-development inside of my business to make my business thrive and to improve it every single year. And it grew
Mm-hmm.
so much, but I never took those tools and implemented them in my personal life, because I knew inside that if I did, I was going to change and I was going to leave him, or like there was going to be so much more conflict. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always avoided implementing those things in my personal life. When I left him, I
Mm-hmm.
said that is the very first thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to dive deep into self-development. I went into therapy, I did counseling, like I threw myself all in into the kind of work that I knew was going to reveal Maria again, and was going to strengthen Maria again, to the point where where I could really trust myself, and I could completely shift that disgusting, negative, and like really vile, um, listening ahead of myself, view of myself. If I spoke to you, Donna, the way that I used to speak to myself in my head, you would call the police.
I believe you. But it's so funny. I hear what you're saying that you could not transition what you did in the office home. Because if we took what we do in the office and how we do our business and take it home, it's not going to perceive well. You know what I mean? So, as you said, you're a people pleaser. So, let me please you this way at home. But when I go out in the world, I am this person. You
Mhm.
know, like this is where our misidentity comes in, because who
Yeah.
are we? We're one person in front of this person, and we're another person, another person. So, now that you've done all that, you have recognized who Maria is, the divorce, the breasts. How did you dive into intimacy or new relationship with someone else after all of that?
So in the beginning, I honestly, for the first year, I never even dated.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I need to fix my life. I need
Mm-hmm.
to get to know myself more. I need to take care of my children. I have two daughters. So everything was focused on my kids and on all three of us healing from what had happened. And so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even consider dating. I was like, that's not a door I want to open yet. Right now, I'm really focusing on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, as time went by, after that year, friends started saying, so are you going to start dating soon? Like, what's happening in your love life? And in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, I'm like, no, I need to fix everything in my life first before I start dating. and
Mm-hmm.
and somebody like really questioned me about that. So are you like, do you have to be perfect? Like, where are you trying to get to? And and it had me realize that it doesn't matter how much work I do. um why is that the measuring stick on me having the opportunity to have love in my life and to explore relationships?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, you know what, maybe I am setting up this unreasonable standard for myself, and instead maybe it's just fear that I have, because I never saw myself dating in my 40s. And on top of it, now there's dating apps, and like the whole dating game changed. And I was like, what is all of this? I'm not used to
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
What do you mean I gotta go on apps and swipe? Like, what the hell is that? And so I resisted going on apps initially, and I'm like, this, and on top of that, I was also afraid. I think it was a mixture of the fear of like having to date again, put myself out there, and the fact that I had one breast and a scar across my chest, and I'm like, what are men gonna think? My breasts are part of my sexuality, my sensuality, what somebody finds desirable, beautiful.
Mhm.
And so, are men gonna find me beautiful? Is anyone gonna have any desire to be intimate with me? Like, I asked myself those questions, and I used to. I just used to sit in the room by myself, and I used to cry, and I used to ask myself these questions like, how am I gonna handle the rejection of a man saying, "Oh no, I don't want to be with you"? Like, I'm just being honest.
Mhm.
And I'm like, how would I handle that if somebody said that to me? And I just kept doing inner work. I kept doing self-development work. I kept just, doing the mirror work that I spoke to you about on our last episode,
Mhm.
and just going inwards with myself. And the first thing that I worked on when it came to dating is, how do I handle rejection, in dating? And I saw that, well, the way that I've handled rejection in dating is, if somebody says, no, you're not my person, I automatically made it about me. I automatically said, oh, there must be something wrong with me, the way that I look, or the way that I speak, or how I am, my character. So I always made it about something negative about me. And so I started
Mhm.
thinking about that. Like, why is it that people reject us? Why is it that people say you're not my person? And honestly, it's because we either don't align, we're not compatible, or like, we have different visions in life. Maybe that person wants to grow their business and move to another country, and maybe I want to live in Canada all of my life. Well,
Mhm.
that would be a reason why people are not aligned, and
We're
people are
not thinking that way.
maybe we shouldn't date,
Yeah,
right?
it's always about us, right?
Yes, yes. Like, there's all of these things. There's all of these reasons why somebody can say, you know what, I'm just not feeling it.
Mhm.
And I started practicing that. I'm like, I'm just gonna go out on as many dates as possible with different men to see what is it that I like. Because I was very shallow. I was very shallow when it came to looks, and like,
You
my
said
my
that in
ex
your first
husband is very
episode.
good looking. He's 6'3". Um, so I've always had a thing for tall men. So it's like, okay, my guy needs to be like 6 foot something, tall, dark, and handsome, and then I had a list, the list of, like, they should be like this, and they should be respectful, and they should, like, all of the things, all of those amazing qualities that we want in another human being, right? And it's like, okay, I want all of these qualities, and then I'm like, well, what are the qualities that I bring? What are the qualities that I have? And then I started developing my qualities.
Mhm.
At the same time that I'm like, I'm just going to not look at
Physical.
what I've considered my standard in the past, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna broaden that, and not look at all these metrics, and just go out on dates, just get to know people, just see and go out and feel it out, and have authentic conversations.
Can I ask a question? So I'm going to go back a little bit. You said that you have now broadened the men that you are attracting to, or who the men that you
Yes.
want, the tall, the outside, the physical, right? Did your choice of man pivoted because you've done the work, or it's pivoted like you're saying, okay, because I have, this has happened to me. Now I have to, maybe those men won't be attracted to me, so I have to make my scale bigger.
No, it pivoted because as I continued to do inner work and
Mm-hmm.
self-development work,
Mm-hmm.
my standards for myself and for the kind of relationships that I want
Mm-hmm.
has shifted. And every time my standards shifted, I so did the kind of man that
That you're
I
attracted.
wanted to invite into my space. And it had nothing to do with my worth. Actually, my worth continued increasing my level of confidence. And so I discovered something really powerful as I was dating, different men.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, when I first started dating, I was like, I used to cry and I used to be like, because I always wanted to be authentic and honest. And I'm like, when do I tell someone that I had breast cancer and that I have a
Mm-hmm.
scar? Because I used to wear
Pathetic.
a prosthetic,
Yeah.
so you couldn't tell that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a breast.
You don't wear that anymore?
I haven't worn that in like 2 years.
Okay.
I don't wear anything anymore. So as soon as you see me, you know that I don't have a boob on this
Oh, I
side.
love it. I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, so I used to wear the prosthetics. And so I was like, when do I tell them? Maybe not on the first day, maybe only when we know it's progressing and we really like each other, but then I feel like a liar. And I used to go through all of this inner conflicts about that. And so, and when I used to tell them, I would like make it this huge story, and I'd be like, this, that, and the other. And I had breast cancer. And because I had breast cancer, I had to remove my breast. And, you know, and the thing that I discovered, first of all, by telling men what had happened
Mm-hmm.
is one, all of the men that I've ever dated, gone out on the whether we continued dating or not one of them ever said, oh, okay, like I'm not interested. I'm just gonna take off now. I'll see you later. Have a nice life. The very first question that I always got asked is, are you okay now? Are you back to full health? And I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'm like,
Oh, so you
kicking
start
everything.
attracting these
The
men.
second thing that most men would say
Mhm.
is, you are amazing and courageous and you inspire me. The third thing that they would say is, you think this changes how I see you when I'm getting to know you, and you're amazing, and I like your energy, and I like your personality, and I like the things you speak about. Like, this is nothing.
Maria.
And I had a very, like, I had this way that I thought about men. I thought men were shallow. I thought men, like, mostly only cared about looks, and that men didn't have the level of vulnerability and sensitivity to go that deep.
But look at it, Maria. As coaches, the
Mhm.
reason why you thought those men were like that is because you were like that. Because you told me that you were shallow.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right. Well, that's the reason why I thought that
Yes.
way, right? Because I was
Yeah.
pretty shallow.
This
I was like, man, my guy
it's
needs to
crazy.
be
Like
like this, like that,
we mirror ourselves out in the world.
all the
And
time.
then we're constantly pointing out.
Yeah,
And sometimes we need to just, just point back in
yeah.
because we're mirroring who we are in this world.
Point in case, the more work that I did over the years, the
Hmm.
more exceptional the men that have shown in my life. And right now,
Absolutely.
I have, so I'm non-monogamous, and one of my
Okay.
partners,
Hold on. This is gonna go past our half an hour. Just because
yes.
you just mentioned non-monogamous.
And I discovered all of that in the work that I did. So let me back it up a little bit,
Back
because
it up, girl.
as I was going into all of this journey, beside the fact of dating, was also this thing about sexuality.
Hmm.
I grew up being shamed around sexuality. My parents' sex talk with me was, don't have sex until you're married. And if you do have sex before you're married, you stop, you're not gonna be worthy to a good man. you're, it's not going to be beneficial for you because you're giving up something that's of
The birth,
worth.
the cookie, yeah.
And so I adopted that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason why I stayed in an abusive relationship for 20 years, is
Mm-hmm.
because I had such a diminished view of myself that now I was used goods. Now I wasn't worthy anymore. And I think that is one of the most negative and detrimental things that we could ever say to a young woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because guess what? Whenever I have sex with a man, I don't lose my intellect. I don't forget how to cook. I don't forget how to run more than one business. I don't forget how to be the best mother for my children.
Oh,
I don't forget how to be a coach. Nothing diminishes of who I am and what I bring to anyone around me. You put me in a room and people's lives will transform.
okay. So based on these recording or this programming that
Mhm.
your parents put in you to be a certain
Not
way.
not in a negative
No,
way.
no, 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 no.
This
I,
is
I don't think
all
it's a negative. No, it's just it's
based
just the way
on,
they thought. Because as
yeah, we
Caribbean, we
all
got
get
that
taught,
too.
so it gets passed down and it
Yeah.
gets
Oh
passed
gosh,
down.
I
My
I I
parents were
know
trying to
this.
protect me.
No, we got that because that's how we were brought too. So the
Yeah.
reason why I want to talk about the programming, because at the end of the day, it's still
Yes,
programming,
it is.
and it's how you decipher that program that they're putting in you. Again, we have choices, but if we got programmed to be this person, married with one man, have children, and live forever, no matter what the abuse, we're to stay because you know what,
Yes.
we need a man to complete us, right? To
Hmm.
be that woman, to know
Hmm.
you're saying to me that
Hmm.
you're non-monogamous. How and at what point did you figure out that you're non-monogamous?
So as I kept dating and I kept discovering more about myself and I did more self-development programs. I was actually in this 1 year self-development program where now, because I'm dating, that the subject of sexuality came up. And then all of these things from the past, from my parents. And then I went into a relationship with my ex-husband where he was very traditional. And this thing about body count counted.
Okay.
And when we were going deeper in our relationship and he asked me, how many men I had slept with before him, I lied to him and I said two, when in fact it had been seven. But
Wow.
back then, all of these things had so much significance
Mhm.
because how many people you sleep with determines your worth, determines your
Mm,
value as a woman, determines, all of these things according to the programming.
absolutely.
And so I was like, oh, if I tell him that, he might not be with me. So I
Hmm.
lied and I was
You're
like,
playing the game.
what's the number that sounds okay, right? So I said two. I said two, and for many years that lie lived hidden in there until it eventually came out and I said the truth and all hell broke loose. But anyways, that like all of these things played into that. So
Hmm.
once I was back, dating and learning so much about life, myself, and getting to know me and releasing all of this negative thoughts about me, I'm like, wait a minute. I've been programmed.
Hmm.
And I haven't asked myself the questions of what does Maria want? And
Hmm.
how do I want every area of my life to look, including my sexual life?
Hmm.
So I started exploring that and I saw that it was inundated with and inside of that program, that 9 month program, I started having conversations with women about sexuality and asking questions and saying the things that I felt really confronted about. And one of them, we were doing an exercise inside of that program where we could go around the room. It was about 150 people, and we lived inside of that exercise. We lived in a world where nothing was wrong, and you could say anything you wanted to anyone, and you would be respected, acknowledged, and nobody would judge you.
No
So
judge, yeah.
if you lived in a world like that, what are some of the conversations that you would have? And
Mm-hmm.
so my friend is like, go have conversations about sex. Like, go speak about that, right? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing that's confronting you right now. And she dared me to do something, to
Mm-hmm.
say something sexual to a man, one of
Mm-hmm.
the men in the room. Now, by the time that we were, that this exercise came up, like, we had been working together, all of us, like 150 people, for like at least 5 months. So we knew each other very intimately. There was a lot of trust. There was such a healthy, beautiful environment. So I'm not, I'm not telling anyone to just go say this to just anybody. I was in a very
The safe
safe
circle. Yes.
circle of people that loved me, and I loved them, and we had worked through so much already together. Um, so she dared me to go and say something sexual to one of the men in the room. And so I looked around and I picked somebody that was a close friend, somebody that I knew, somebody that I trusted, and I'm like, I'm gonna go say this to him. I stood in front of that beautiful man, shaking and crying, and I froze. Like, my entire body froze, and I couldn't say anything. And he was holding my hands, and he was saying, whatever it is, sweetheart, you can tell me. And no matter how supportive he was, no matter how safe I felt with him, and then my friend who had asked me to go and say this was there with me as well, like I was being completely supported. My entire every cell in my body froze. All I could do was cry, and nothing would come out of my mouth. And eventually she said it on my behalf, and he's like, oh honey, that's okay, this, that, and the other. And but that day, I got how much of a prisoner I was in that area of my life, and how shame completely had taken over my life,
Wow.
to the point that I couldn't even speak. Like, words were more powerful than me. And for the rest of the day, on that day, I cried the entire day, and I said, if this has a hold on me like this in this area of my life, how
Mm-hmm.
many other areas of my life that this thing have a hold on?
Mm.
And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I have to work on this. And soon after that, I hired a sexuality coach, and I went to work on my sex life for 6 months. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh my gosh, I'm hiring a pleasure coach. I'm going to have the time of my life. I have never cried more and
Oh.
felt more confronted than in that container. But in there, I discovered the way that has integrity for me to do relationships, dating, and sex.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me power. And in there, I discovered that there was other ways of doing relationship. And I'm like, nobody told me there was something other than monogamy. I was told that this is it.
So before you go on, so question for you. When you were dating and when you were married, right?
Mhm.
What was important to you? The intimacy or the coitus? The fucking. Which one was so important to you? Did you need more intimate moments or penetration?
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I made it about whatever pleased my husband more than myself.
Okay. Okay.
And what I valued more in my relationship with him was like having a family, having that long-term love. I was a very jealous woman, which didn't work for me because he was very good looking. So women looked at him all the time, wanted to speak to him all the time, and it used to make me very angry and resentful. So I focused on the things that I was taught that I needed to focus on in life, which was be sacrificial, take
Mm.
care of your family, make sure this relationship lasts forever, because that's what determines the quality of your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And make your man happy. And so I didn't even know my body, and during those years I didn't even take the time to discover my body
Mm-hmm.
and my pleasure, and what is it that I want that pleases me.
Mm.
you know in our intimacy, he did do things to please me, but my focus was all on him.
Always. Okay, all right. I got my answer. So no, go back to after you done your pleasure coaching.
So after I did that, I actually went to a sex shop for the first time in my 40s. That's when I did all the things in my 40s. My 40s were like my 20s. And so I went to a sex shop for the first time in my 40s. And the owner of the sex shop, who's a woman here in Toronto, gave me this book. And I think every woman should read this book.
Mm.
And this book had me really look at my pleasure, my body, all the parts of my yoni, pussy, womb space, vulva, whatever we feel comfortable calling
Mm-hmm.
that area of our bodies. And it started me on a journey of like, oh, like I can, I deserve to receive pleasure. You know, pleasure is important. I can self pleasure. I can. So it just took me on a journey of like being more free in the area of my life with myself. And as I became more free with myself, and I did this coaching with my sexuality coach. At the time, I didn't want to be in a relationship because I was going through a lot with my daughters. We were dealing with a lot in life, and
Mm-hmm.
my daughter was very young still.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, but I do want to date. I do want to have companionship. I do want to have intimate moments. So some friends were like, why don't you get a lover? Why don't you create a lover relationship? And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, somebody that you have a friendship with, like you create agreements with, but you have a sexual, more friendship and sexual relationship with, and it's not a committed long-term relationship. And I'm like, you can have that? They're like, yes. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I actually wrote it on paper inside of that program. I remember very clearly, I was sitting in one of the sessions inside this beautiful self-development program, and I pulled out my journal and I started writing. I want to love a relationship, and I want it to be like this and like that, and I want the men to be like this and like that. And literally almost a month after, I met my first lover that I ever had, and he was my lover for over 3 years. Oh my gosh, the things that I explored, like he was perfect because he was very clear. He didn't want a committed relationship. He was working on his career and everything. And he held so much safe space for me as I discovered navigating this, because every 5 minutes I was trying to turn it into a long-term relationship because I didn't know how to have a lover. But he had so much patience, and I explored so much with him. And now it was about what I wanted. And I was about like, maybe I don't want to explore this. Maybe I might like that. I don't know if I'm going to like that. Let's try it for a little bit and I'll let you know if I like it or not.
You
And
know,
that just began this whole like, wow.
this new exploration, eh?
Oh my gosh. This like
But then this is
discovery.
what I love about this conversation. Men need to know that they can be very authentic to women like us. If you just need to have a lover, say it.
Yes.
Versus, kind of going around the back and, saying the words that you believe that
Yes.
we want to hear.
Yes.
Because
And you know what? It takes some practice, and it does, because I didn't begin like this. I didn't begin with men knowing up front that
Mhm.
I have a scar on my chest. I didn't begin with men knowing up front that I was non-monogamous. In the beginning, when I was practicing non-monogamy, first of all, I didn't practice any non-monogamy until I read books. I talked to non-monogamous people.
It
I
didn't
spoke to
work. Yeah.
people. Like, I started learning and learning and learning and asking myself deeper questions, and like really seeing, is this really something I want to explore, before I ever had multiple partners.
So
And
you had to speak to people who were non-monogamous in order for you to get it? Is what I'm So you had to speak to non-monogamous people for it to sink in your head or in your psyche that,
I
this is.
had to speak to non-monogamous people to have the conversations about how to deprogram myself from
by
the way that we're taught to do relationships, because
just by jumping in. Similes.
there's a lot,
Okay.
when we're a lot of what I grew up around is, in committed relationship, there's a sense of specialness that
Yeah.
gets created. There's a sense of like, you complete me, you are going to make me happy. There's a lot of obligation and expectation and the sense of ownership, and so that creates a lot of control, manipulation, and so many different dynamics that are not healthy.
So,
And in non-monogamy, one of the most valuable things that I have learned is
mhm.
compersion, which is, I love my partners, and my love for my partner extends to their partners, and my commitment is that my partners are happy in their life with how they want to lead their life, and at times that doesn't include me.
So
And
you so hold on there. So the partners that you have,
mhm.
does their partner know about you?
Yes. Everything is, there is no lying. I can never be in a
Okay.
relationship with someone who cannot be completely honest. I can't. Like, I have honestly, Donna, I have like at least a good 6 to 7 men right now that want to have either a lover relationship or like relationships with me, but they're involved with other women, but they want to do it without their partners knowing. And I am a hell no to that.
So are you referred to as a unicorn?
You know what? I I
Or
I
are you in
don't
a
put
poly?
myself
Are you
in.
in a
I
poly
am
really?
poly. I am
You're
poly.
poly. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can get enough of you. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like we're gonna be best of friends.
I was in a throuple before, so I was in a relationship with a man and a woman back in 2020. Yeah, 2019, 2020. So I was in a throuple, but I wasn't a unicorn. We were all in a relationship, all three of us. And that relationship taught me a lot, because in that relationship, I was very grounded in working in my relationship with each one of them and their relationship together. So like, I was such an advocate for their relationship to also be healthy and thriving and loving, and for it to grow.
So another question. So you said you're in a trouble. What does that mean? Are you bisexual?
I am.
So you discover all of this after
I
divorce,
discovered
obviously.
all of this. I discovered all of this as I was exploring my sexuality. I was exploring relationships, and as I was learning, and as I was grounding more and more into me, um,
Mhm.
the more inner work that I did. And what I love about all the work that I've done is that what it did is it brought integrity into all those areas of my life. And so I have very high standards for everything that I do. And there's a lot of misconceptions that people who are non-monogamous, all they want is sex. All they
Yeah.
want is to have sex with whomever they want. And the other thing, for people who work with intimacy and sexuality, is that like, all we do is F around all the time. And
Hmm.
actually, the more I've studied, the more self-development I've done, the more integrity I keep putting into every area of my life, including my sexuality. There's times where I've had zero partners, there's times that like, especially when I end relationships, I always go on at least 6 months of cleansing, of like inner work,
I
of healing,
I love that you
of
said that.
learning about what happened in that relationship, what about it worked, what didn't work, how was I responsible for what didn't work, how did I show up, what else could have done differently. So
I
I go
love
and I do all of this work because I heard this quote, and it always stayed with me, by the woman who wrote the book Unconscious. I mean, sorry, Conscience Uncoupling.
conscience
Conscious
and
Uncoupling.
couple. Okay.
And she said, your next relationship does not begin with when you end this one. Your next relationship, no, I just screwed it up. Your next relationship doesn't begin when you meet your next partner. Your next relationship begins with how you end with this one.
Wow.
Because if you don't do the work, you're going to keep taking all the garbage, you're going to put it in a bag, and you're going to
And take
carry
it with
it onto
you.
the next relationship and the next
Absolutely.
relationship and the next
Absolutely.
relationship. And so every time a relationship ends, I always go into inner work, into healing, and I give reverence and gratitude for that relationship, no matter how long it lasted. Because what I believe is that every single relationship that I've ever had in my life has been the catalyst for the way that I show up in relationships today. And the only way that that has happened is because, including my 20-year relationship, I still call my ex-husband once in a while. I'm like, I'm sorry that I did this. And I see that I did that. And oh my God, this behavior was so toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there was a lot of toxicity against me in that relationship. But if we don't take full responsibility for our lives and for how we show up in everything, nothing changes. So the things that I learned is like, how do I deal with rejection in a healthy way? How do I take responsibility for all of my behavior?
Mm-hmm.
And really honoring and having gratitude, because I chose to be in partnerships with whomever I've ever had a relationship with. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of it, I never look at any relationship, no matter the length, as something that was negative or bad or didn't have anything that gifted me. I actually have deep gratitude and reverence, and I love every single human that I've ever been with, because they have taught me something else about myself, about life, about the things that I want, about the things that I don't want, about the things that are non-negotiable for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all of these experiences have brought me to today. And today I have, like, one of my partners that I have, like, he is like a dream come true. Like, this guy, he dropped from heaven into into my lap. He's extraordinary and exquisite, and like doing life with him is joyous and delicious. And the way this man honors me, the way he respects me, the way he values me, I mean, the real me, the authentic me, not anything. I don't pretend. First of all, I don't pretend in my life to be anything other than who I am. I refuse to do that. And I refuse to do that in relationships. So the person that you meet is the person that's always going to be there. And I put everything forth about exactly who I am. And if I'm not your cup of tea, I'm quite okay with that. Then we can just be friends, or we can just be like, have a nice life. And that's perfect. And so the
Mm-hmm.
more that I did that, the more the men in my life show up in the same authentic way.
Mm.
So, like, the man that's in my life right now, he refuses to be anything other than himself. He loves himself. See, he values himself,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore he values me. He has vision for the things that we want to build, and building legacy, and being a humanitarian, and caring about people, and having a beautiful heart. And like, my daughter's like, Mom, he's the male version of you.
Wow.
But it took all these years
Yeah.
and all the work and all the relationships and all the things that we consider failures, you know, all the rejection. You know how many men rejected me on the apps? A lot. A lot.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as a woman, is to learn to trust ourselves and to learn to shift what rejection means for us. I started
Mm.
shifting what rejection meant for me. Rejection meant for me means for
Absolutely.
me that we're just not aligned.
That's it. Point blank.
Point
No
blank.
story. No story.
That's
Yes,
it.
no story
There's
behind it.
nothing else. There's
Yeah.
nothing about the way that I look. There's nothing about the way that I speak. There's nothing about my intelligence. There's nothing about what kind of career I do. Like nothing. We're just not aligned.
That's it. And with
Thank you that
that,
I found that out now. Have a nice life.
and with that, we're going to end this episode. Maria, this episode brought joy for me because you have touched on so much. Go ahead. You want to say something?
I do want to say something because
Go
it's really, really important
go ahead.
for this topic that we're speaking of.
Yes.
Because I'm speaking to the women and the men out there that feel ashamed or feel like I don't have the courage or the strength to have conversations with someone about sex or to say what I want. What if they don't? What if they get like triggered, or what if they don't want me anymore? What if this destroys whatever it is that we're building?
Mm-hmm.
You know, me being honest about the things that I want, or setting boundaries and
Boundaries, yeah.
about my life. What
Yeah,
if that rocks the boat and wrecks this thing
that means that
that
person's
I'm
not for
like,
you.
it's so good, right?
That means that
It,
person's not for you, right?
it does, but beyond that, I think it's really powerful for us to be willing to go there, because when we give ourselves that choice and we give the other person the power of choice, every time we're honest with ourselves and with another person, I believe it's the most loving thing we can do, because we give them the power of choice. They
Absolutely.
get to choose what they
Absolutely.
want with
Absolutely.
complete honesty. And
Absolutely.
and the thing is, no matter how much work we've done, no matter how much self-development and inner work and how powerful we are, there's always another layer of the things that
Absolutely.
we don't know. So
Absolutely.
in this relationship that I'm in right now, I discovered that there's still other layers about my sexuality that I hadn't explored. And it has been confronting as F. I mean, like, I teach women about orgasms and sexuality and embodiment, and I'm self-expressed and like pleasure and like all of these things, only to find out, because now I am with somebody who actually cares about my pleasure, who is devoted and committed to me exploring me to the highest that I can be.
Mm-mm-mm.
And in that, I discovered that, you know, there are different areas where I feel confronted, and he could have been like, I'm not gonna rock the boat. This has been like such an extraordinary relationship, and if I go and talk to this woman who teaches like people about all of these things and tell her, guess what, you can go higher, you can go deeper, I feel it in my soul that there's still something missing, she's gonna slap me. She's gonna like it was confronting for him to choose to be honest and say, hey, I think there's another level of you. I think you haven't even touched the
The
surface.
surface.
That's
But
how I'm.
Maria, but Maria, you know this. Like in life, a lot of us has not even touched the surface of anything, especially when it comes to intimacy and sex. The
Yes,
surface. We are going to constantly learn until the day we die. And
we
that's
are.
yeah, and this is one of the
But the
most
thing
important.
is that once we reach to a certain level, sometimes we
Yeah, it's
get
always graduating.
comfortable and we
Yeah.
think, oh, it actually feels confronting to have
Hmm.
somebody else tell you, oh no, there's more. And so even when you feel confronted, still have the conversation, still continue discovering. Because guess what? We've been having very, very honest conversations about all of it, like in
Hmm.
our sexuality,
Hmm.
every time, every time, every time. And guess what? I thought I was here and now it's going here. And I'm like,
This was rising.
I didn't know this
I
was here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well,
And so,
Maria, we're gonna have us a three. Actually, when I'm done, I'm gonna talk to you. So let's just tighten this up, Maria. Thank you. And
so
that's
no
what
matter what, there's nothing missing or wrong with you. We all have layers of new discoveries and just play with it.
yeah,
Fun,
you
play.
hear what she said. Just play with it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I've started Sensual Rebirth. We always talk about power, pleasure, and leveling up, constantly leveling up because the playing field has no stoppage. We're constantly going up, and that's why we bring people like Maria to show you if she can do it, anybody else.
Everybody can.
My name,
Every
my name is Donna, and welcome to Sensual Rebirth.